Hello les belles femmes et bienvenue sur le podcast Brave, un nouvel épisode aujourd'hui avec une invitée que j'adore. Donc aujourd'hui, on va discuter avec ma mentor Charissa Lynn. On est ensemble depuis environ 3 ans, j'aurais tendance à dire. Puis j'avais envie de l'inviter sur le podcast pour qu'elle nous partage vraiment son behind the scene en tant que mère, en tant qu'entrepreneur, mais surtout en tant que femme. C'est une personne qu'on voit sur les médias sociaux qui a beaucoup de succès et que je sais qu'il a vécu aussi beaucoup de défis, beaucoup de challenges aussi dans sa vie. Donc, on est ici aujourd'hui pour en parler. Ça va être mon premier épisode en anglais, donc laissez-moi, donnez-moi une chance. Vous me laisserez savoir comment vous avez trouvé l'épisode, puis n'oubliez pas de nous share en stories. On aime toujours ça savoir qui écoute l'épisode. So welcome to the Brave podcast. I'm so excited to be here today with you, Charissa. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. And I understood a little bit of what you're saying. So
That's perfect. I was trying to put some English words
yeah,
here,
yeah.
so that's perfect. So thank you, honestly, for being there. I can't wait for you to share a lot of your behind the scenes, some stories with my people. I know you a lot. I think since 3 years, and you're the kind of person who really share like almost everything. When I asked you some more personal questions or direct questions, in 3 years, you never told me like I can't answer you. You know, you're like open books, and you're always open to share what is happening behind the scene. And during the last couple of years, you did a lot of big decisions for your life and for your business. So I can't wait to talk about it today. So for the people who don't know you, do you want to take a moment and share who you are and what are your business, what you do for your living?
Yeah. So I'm Charissa Lynn and I'm in London, Canada. So London, Ontario. I'm a mother of three, and I started my product business about 9 years ago. Now, I would say it's more like officially been a business for about 6 or 7 years. The first couple years I started, I was a school teacher. So I was teaching kindergarten, and I started making lip balms and soaps and bath bombs, more for a hobby, some extra money, kind of for fun. And then it kept growing and growing. And now it's a full-fledged company where we have employees, and my partner, my husband, Andrew, now works alongside me, and I'm no longer a school teacher. So I have my product company, which is called Crushed Aftercare, and we make aftercare for microblading artists, cosmetic nurses. So basically for the beauty industry. So we make, balms and butters and, lotions that help soothe the brows and the lips and tattoos after they have their procedure done. The clients get to use them. So we do that, and we brand it with the company who orders, we brand it with their logo. So it's basically like we create product lines for the beauty industry to give to their clients. So that's my product company. And along the way, as I was growing my company, people started coming to me and asking me, how are you growing your business? How are you doing this? Can you coach me? And then I started coaching naturally, had no idea I would start business coaching. So here we are. So I do product company and then also business coaching.
I love that. And do you have a lot of entrepreneurs around you and your family?
My mom and my stepdad were both entrepreneurs. So my stepdad had his own business doing tile. So he'd put flooring in, like carpet and tile, that kind of thing. And my mom, she's an artist. So she taught art lessons. She did actually open up her own storefront in the exact location that I now have my business in, which is
I
so
didn't
funny.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but that happens to be where it's not the exact unit, but it's the exact business complex that she had her art studio. So she would teach art, people would come in and, do classes and whatnot with her. So she's always, and she did at home daycare. So she did mainly at home stuff. And my stepdad had his own thing as well.
I love that. So when you were a kid, were you thinking of like in the future, I want to have my business, or it was for sure that I'm going to be a teacher?
I did not even think about having a business at all because my mom's art business only lasted, I think, a year or two. and
Mhm.
it was really hard to keep up with renting a space and getting enough, money flow coming in. And with my stepdad, with his flooring, it always seemed like he was working really hard just to make money to pay for the things we needed. And there was like this flow of, we would have a lot of money if he had big jobs and worked overnight and on the weekends really close to Christmas so we could have a great Christmas. And then there'd be like dry spells. So it never occurred to me to be an entrepreneur because in my world, it seemed hard and like a struggle. So I was more about education and let's get a job that you can make good money and is always coming in. So no one's ever asked me that question. So that's a great question. I've never really reflected on that because you would think that would have led me to being an entrepreneur, but absolutely it made me go the other way.
Exactly. And what is funny is that today you're such a model for a lot of women like me and other one to like you can have success and you can work only 20 hours a week. You
Yeah.
know, like, I know that you work a lot to be where you are today, but at the same time, your agenda is not like book 8 to 8. You know, I know that you have a lot of space. You work out one or even twice a day. You have 3 children, like you said. And I feel that when I'm talking to you, I know that you have time. I
Yeah.
feel that you're never in rush. You always take the time and everything. So it's interesting because what you learn when you were a child is like you need to work hard to make more money. And today you're completely the opposite. So I love that. And I think we need more people like you to show the path about this because I feel the same. You can work only 4 or 5 hours a day and have success. It depends on like what are your priority and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know, do you consider like leaving your teaching job full time to go all in your business? Was it your like brave move in your life? Was it your greatest move that you did?
Yeah, I would say so. I think one of my most brave moves I ever
Yeah.
made was definitely to leave my teaching job. Now that it's been a few years, it
Mhm.
doesn't seem as risky, but I think because I'm actually living the life that I wanted to live when I left teaching, but at the time it was uncertain.
Mhm.
I didn't know if the business would continue to scale, if we would have enough money come in to provide for our family. I didn't know that at the time. So the brave, the courage had to come in at that time because of the unknown, right? That really is having courage when you're taking risks or making moves, but you don't have a secure certain answer, but you're going to go and do it anyway. But now looking back, it's like, oh, yeah, that's
Uh,
easy to do. But I feel I know where I'm at now. I'm in the
yes,
future just now.
exactly. And how was it? Was it like at the end of the year you were telling yourself, okay, I'm not coming back in September? Like, how does it work in the past for that?
Yeah, so I wanted to leave teaching right after I had my third baby. I was on mat leave with him and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go back to teaching." But I had to think about the amount of money that was coming in. Would it be able to pay for his daycare and everything else right now? And at that time, the teaching was the thing that was making more money. So I was like, "Oh, okay, this doesn't cover the things I need it to." So I
Mhm.
went back part-time. And even going back part-time, and I know you're very interested in this as well, my husband Andrew was a little scared for me to do that. And he was like, "Oh, for me to do it." But I'm like, "No, I can do this part-time." That year that I went to part-time though happened to be a crazy year for us because we now had 3 kids in two in daycare, one at
Mhm.
school. So we're paying for 2 kids in daycare. I'm only working part-time. They're continually getting sick that year, just common for kids this young. Our daycare, who we had been with for a long time, she ended up saying she's not going to take my kids anymore. She had taken on way too many kids. And so there was that thing that happened right when I went back. So we were like scrambling. So the first couple months of me going back to teaching, I had to use a lot of my sick days and my care days. And so did Andrew. And that
Mhm.
was stressful because he was working at the jail. I'm a school teacher. It's not easy just to not go into work, especially when you're a teacher. You have that guilt. You have to make sure you're prepared for your supply teacher. The staff and the principal are like, why isn't she coming into work?
Mm,
All those things, right? There's a lot of stress on you. And so we had to also utilize our family, like some grandparents to watch the kids. And it was just so hard. And
mhm.
then we found a daycare. We had to wait a couple months till the spot opened. It was right near our house. We're like, this is perfect. Within a month of having her, she says she's going back to work. So
Oh
now
no.
we're here again. So we were just in scrambles and we were stressed. And it was a blessing in disguise because I think about Andrew was so afraid of me to leave teaching that
Mhm.
by the 3/4 into the year, he was like, "You need to leave teaching."
Oh,
Because
wow.
it was so stressful on our family, and then that way, at least if the kids were sick and I was home with my
Yes.
business, he could just go to work. We didn't have to worry about who was gonna watch the kids, so I always think of it as, like, the year that the universe threw, these big boulders in front of me and pushed me fully off, the cliff and go, "Okay, you're becoming an entrepreneur now."
Exactly. I love that. And were you focusing on the business first or your coaching business or product company?
I don't
When
remember back then. It was a mix. So mainly when we would talk about leaving for the business, it was the product company. At that
Mhm.
time, coaching was starting to bring in okay money. There was a little bit of a glitch in all of this though, because then COVID happened. So
Mm,
when COVID happened, then the kids were home that next year.
right. Oh
When
my
they
God.
Yeah, then when they went back, I had the opportunity to teach online. So
Mhm.
even though I took the leave,
Yeah.
a year after that, I said yes to teaching online. So I was online teaching full time. Plus I had the kids home and then running two businesses and my coaching business exploded that year. So that
Mm,
was a crazy year teaching online kindergarten and doing all of that. So even though I left, there was 1 year where I did the online
yes.
teaching.
Yes. I love that. And for the women who are listening right now and they want to leave their full-time job and they know they have some ideas for business, they want to have more freedom, to be there for their child. And I know that the women like you who like just have their last baby and they're like, I don't want to go back to work. Please find me ideas. What will you say to them? Like, and how do you know that it's time to leave the job?
Yeah, so you're talking about someone who already has an idea and they already kind of started a business, but they're
Mm-hmm.
that we were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, some people they just have the desire to leave, but they don't know. They're like, I don't know what I can do. So, do you mean like what would be advice on if they want to leave, but they're kind of afraid?
Exactly. Like, how did you, like, you just explained it to us, but yes, how do you know it's time to leave the job and to really like follow your heart and what you want?
I think it's a mix of logic and intuition. So, because I don't think you can just say, my soul wants to do this business and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to quit teaching. I mean, I could have done that right at the very beginning. But logic was coming in too, where I was sort of weighing out, okay, well, how much money is coming in? How much do I have to cover for whatever bills I pay for and the daycare and whatever? So it was like, I always like to think it's like the feminine and masculine energies. It's like a
Yes.
and so I feel like the intuition comes in strongly where it's like, now it's time. It's almost like it's like a jump and you just
Mhm.
know when it's time. But if you're in a situation, this is my opinion at least, because you're going to have
Mhm.
so many different people say different things. Some people will say, if you want it, who cares what financial situation you're in? Just like take the leap, go after it. And then you're going to have other people who are like, no, work, have a job while you're building your business. I personally believe to do that until
Yes.
you get to a certain point. And you're going to know that point. Like for me, we had all these orders coming in. It was impacting our family, it was impacting our stress levels. If there was enough money coming in that then it was like it's time to go. So
Mhm.
it is a mix of that rational, logical, but I can say we had no money saved,
Mhm.
just invested in a coach for a year. Um, So I think I had about $90,000 on the line of credit. What else happened? Andrew also left, like officially left his job that same time. So now we have two people, like the parents of the household who are jumping, taking the leap, don't have any no nest, saved up or whatever, and majorly in debt. So it's like, yes, but then we were also having orders coming in so much that Andrew was working at the jail, but any time off he had, any days, and at night, he was working with me on the business because it was growing. So do you see how it's like a mix? Like I had orders flowing in,
Yes.
but also it was a risk because we had no money saved and I had just invested this big amount.
Yes. I love that. I love your story. And were you, because you started the product company, but Andrew helped you a lot, like since the beginning, I think. But were you confident to work with your husband? Like, what was your vision? Because a lot of people will never work with their husband.
Okay, well, first of all, he did not help me until recently, until
Really?
yes. So I've been doing it for 9 years. So I would say the last 4 years. So the first
Okay.
5 years, it was basically me. So I would be doing all the social media, the posts, ordering the products, printing the labels, everything. He started to step in when I started getting really big orders from big companies. And I had like 30,000 units to fill, whatever, 10,000, 5,000. And he started talking to me about, well, maybe you can find a way where you can get these supplies a lot cheaper and in bulk. So he started researching. So that kind of was the first step of him in the company, but without us really knowing he was going to be in the company. And
Mhm.
he was like, oh, you can get this big barrel of coconut oil for way cheaper. And, so he started helping with the logistics that way. And then at nighttime, him and I would go into the basement because we were at home. We didn't move out into a production space until 4 years ago. But he would come into the basement with me and we'd be like pouring by hand. Him and I at 11 at night after the kids were asleep. Like we have pictures of this and packaging up. So yeah, so he kind of came part way. And it's not easy. I actually coach a client right now who works with her husband as well. And I have to coach her a lot through that because I work with my husband. And even today, I was over there this morning and there was a couple things that happened. I'm like, you get frustrated with each other. So it's not
Mhm.
easy, but I do have to say, working with your partner, make sure you have your own space. So I go into the office and I can shut the door and he sits over in a different area. We have designated roles. So there was a couple times before where we'd both be kind of doing the same role and it wasn't working. So we had to have very clear designated roles for the company so we don't butt heads or we don't overlap each other or question each other. And there has to be a lot of trust too. An
Yes.
example would be so I take care of payroll for our employees. And there was one of the employees said, "Oh, I think you had missed an hour, whatever, a shift from last week." I'm like, "Oh," so I went over to look with her paper. Well, Andrew's standing there, like kind of over my shoulder, trying to figure. And so I had to turn and say, "Okay, I've got this," because I'm the one that's in charge. So otherwise, you're stepping on each other's toes. So it's like Carissa's role is payroll, so Andrew didn't need to be there, right? Or else you
Yes.
start to get
Yes.
miscommunication, or there's like a power struggle that can happen. So it's
Yes.
like my role's here, yours is over there.
Yes, I love that. And just the fact that he was working at jail, like they have a lot of this, like the boss and the employees are
Yeah.
like you need to tell each other what are your boundaries, I think, like when you're working, or like how do you feel and everything, like in your relationship, but it's different at work. And I'm curious to know, I never asked you this question, but what was your, not with Andrew, with your product company, what was your biggest challenge, or maybe it's right now, I don't know if you have a big challenge right now, but what was your biggest challenge in your product company?
So I can think about a couple. So two bigger challenges were more of like mishaps with product. So what we've learned and come to be okay with is with product, things can happen where an example would be people get their order and for some reason their labels start to peel. So they're kind of peeling up. So we have to troubleshoot. Why is this happening? This didn't happen to other people. Why is it happening to this order? And so we have to replace that order or they ship it back. So those kind of things happen. But one time we had ordered these tubes from China, way cheaper, all the things. We sampled the tubes, great. We spend about $12,000, get all these tubes. We're like, yes, we're saving so much money compared to the tubes in North America, right? Because we're getting to this point where we're scaling so big, we got to buy in bulk, and that's what you do. You buy overseas. And they come, we put out all these orders, and we start getting these emails from our customers saying their tubes aren't working. So when they would be rolling their tubes up, it would like break. It wouldn't keep rolling. It would stop. It was like this part was just disconnecting from it. Like, what? It ended up that all these tubes did this. They wouldn't turn up. And so we think they kind of made it more cheap. And then when it got hot, it kind of melted it a little. So then it was malfunctioning. And the company, they would not give us our money back. And
What?
so, yeah. So $12,000. Not only that, we had to replace every order that went out with new nice tubes. So we just stuck with the ones in North America, had to do that. So we had to buy those new tubes for those people, labor to fill them all again, printing all our labels. So I would say in the end, it was probably about 15 grand that we lost. So that was a big challenge. But I say to Andrew, because that was our biggest one. So now obviously there's way more quality control, even though we sampled them, but we double check everything and make sure before a huge investment like that. And then I say to Andrew, though, if you think about someone like President's Choice, these food recalls that happen where, whatever, the lettuce, something's contaminated, or maybe plastic is in something. This happens to product companies. They have to recall their stuff. They lose out on all this money because otherwise, if we get so stressed about it, like our bodies will literally get so deteriorated and it's not healthy. So I just have it whenever he feels a little stressed about, we just had a big order, of course, one of our big orders of like 500 lip glosses, went to the USA. Then for some reason, it was stuck in duty for forever. People were waiting. So then we're like, do we remake this? This is a huge order. It was like a $3,000, $4,000 order, but these people were waiting. So then we're like, okay, well, I guess now we'll just remake it because we don't know what's happening. And then of course it gets shipped back when we get it back, but then we've just remade that order. So there's just things like that. So what I say is it comes with the territory. And so if Andrew starts to get a little stressed, it comes with the territory. This is just a part of owning a product business. So you just have to be kind of chill about it. And it just makes you a better entrepreneur. So now next time when he ships out, he's now going to shift some things on the paperwork, right? So that it's not that stressful. And then for right now, something different than product mishaps is more of like trying to get innovative with our company. So a challenge is, okay, we're at where we're at, but let's keep growing, but how? And so it's like trying to figure out, how do we grow even more? How do we reach more people? How do we market so we have more, sales coming in? So that's, kind of our challenge in the moment.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yes, I think we learn from everything that happened for us and not to us. So like next time you're gonna be more confident about your orders. And I'm curious to know, because you were like, when I discovered you online, you were a lot into coaching business. You talked a little bit about your product company, but not a lot. This year, 2025, I feel it's like your biggest year for your product company, and a lot of things changed. What will you say about the differences about the two type of businesses? Because I'm sure a lot of women that are listening right now, maybe they don't have a business yet, and they're like, do I want a product company or a business? Not a business, but a coaching company, something online. What will you say to them? What are the pro and the cons about this?
Oh my goodness. Okay. They're so different. So different. The way you market is so different, completely different. With a product business, it's so tangible. I can sit here and say, do you want a lip balm? And someone can look and go, my lips are dry. Yes, give me that lip balm. They see it, right? It's tangible. Whereas when you're marketing yourself, if you're doing some sort of mentorship, service based, people don't have that guarantee, that proof that they're going to get what they pay for. So
Mhm.
I actually find the marketing a little bit harder when it comes to service because you have to prove yourself even more, I
Yes.
think.
Mhm.
Um, it can be more fun in ways because if you like to be seen, if you like to be visible, because you do when you're having service or coaching mentorship, I believe you need to be seen a lot more than product.
Mhm.
I do think you should show yourself with product, but you don't have to. There's so many successful product businesses. You're like, who's the owner? Who
Yeah.
works there? You have
Yeah.
no idea, right? So there's that. You also have to know what type of person you are. Do you like people? Do you like to help? Do you like to serve? Because when you're a mentor, leader, coach, I mean, that's what you're doing. It takes a lot of energy because you have people that you're serving and you're helping and you're guiding. Whereas
Yeah.
product, if I'm just doing a product day, I'm going over to the office, I'm going in packaging orders, I'm sending emails out, I'm doing some posts, but I'm it's almost like I'm just doing it myself. Like I'm in my own lane. But
Yes.
days when you have coaching,
It's not
it's
just
like mother hen, you know? Like like it's like you're taking care of people. Like you have it's almost like a teacher. You are a teacher, really, because I'm thinking about
yeah.
teachers with my kids in my classroom. You're very responsible for these people. So you got to be turned on. So you're always turned on.
Yes.
Whereas with product, you can turn off that switch. You can be listening to podcasts while you're, doing stuff. So it is so different. They're both completely different.
And do you have a specific reason why you decide to focus more on your product company this year?
Yeah, it's funny that you ask because I must have felt like you were going to ask this because I was thinking about it this morning when I was making breakfast and packing the kids' lunches. I was like, what really made me decide that this year I'm going to swing more over into the product business? So, one, the product business is continuing to grow and scale, and Andrew can't do it alone. Like
Mhm.
it's just silly to have a product company and I'm the founder and CEO, but I'm 95% mentoring.
Mhm.
How is that company going to grow? Andrew cannot do it alone, right? So we have employees, but they do the filling of the product. There was not a CEO role, and I'm the CEO, so I need to be there. So it wasn't just that though, because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, is it just that? It was just this feeling. Also, here's the intuition part, right? That's the logic. The intuition part is a feeling of the way I did it before with coaching was, and you already know all this, but was master classes and programs and trainings. And I have done it for I'd say 5 years straight, probably going into year six. And I'm just done. Like, where you're just like, I'm just done. That's the feeling. It started the last couple of years where I just training and program after program. So I have them all in evergreens. I have, at least 100 trainings people can go and buy and watch at any time. But I had no desire. I had no desire to keep putting out all these programs and trainings. Do I desire to coach and mentor? Yes, but at a limited capacity. I do like, especially when it's a client like you, Elodie. It's like, oh, I love, to coach people like you. But it just was this feeling of I didn't have that drive or passion. There was also this feeling for me of just the coaching industry in general. I just didn't want to be doing the type of posts that I used to do that everyone else is doing. It didn't feel aligned. All of it didn't feel aligned. But let me say, it hasn't been easy to shift completely into doing crushed and CEO because that was my identity of being a coach in the coaching industry for so many years. But I also feel like a big weight is off my shoulders, which is a really great sign. When you feel way more light, which is funny because I've lost 30 pounds,
Yes.
so I've made this shift. I just feel like I don't have the stress and pressure because there was, at least for me, it felt like to try to get to this certain success with coaching and proving myself and so much time and energy. And there's so many reasons to the shift, but I feel way lighter and I feel more free and I just feel happier.
Yes, yes, we feel it. And it took a lot of courage to take that decision. And like that's what I love about you. I know I told you that before, but I feel that you take big bold action really fast. Yes, you were maybe thinking of that since a couple of months and everything, but you're the kind of people that when you're done, you're done. When you want something, you go for it. Like there's no like procrastination. You don't stay stuck in your head. You're like, I know what I want. I'm gonna go for it. And everyone online was seeing you as the business coach. And right now it's like, oh no, she's the expert in the product company businesses. And I'm like, you you took the decision for that, but you could also take the decision in 5 years, but you decide to do this now because that's what you want now.
Yeah.
So I love that about you, and that's why I love working with you. But because you're like, okay, what's your next um quantum leap? What's your next big decision, Elodie? And every time I'm like, oh, I really don't know. And you're like, you need to choose now because you're not gonna have this time back after that. You need to move fast to have faster result. So thank you for taking the time to share that because I'm sure a lot of people that are following you are like, why products now and less
Yeah.
business goals? Would you say you have like regrets about the business coaching industry or some investment you did in the past?
Obviously I've reflected on all of this, and I feel like almost every single investment I've made has been with really amazing. They're really amazing at what they do. They have incredible results. I've had very great, relationships with them. They're genius in certain areas. So I don't have any regrets with the investment. I feel like there was a moment in time recently where I kind of felt like that just because I made the shift. Where I was like, wait a minute, all that money invested in the coaching and then I'm shifting anyway to mainly growing the product business. Was that money wasted? But there's so many skills and traits that
Mm-hmm.
I learned from these mentors and my investments, and even just the coaching that I did and my marketing that I bring very easily over into the product company. So, an example would be I was on a call with um, a PMU, permanent makeup beauty industry marketing team. And so much about the marketing, I already just knew, a lot of the terms, a lot of marketing strategies I've learned because of the coaches I've invested in. My confidence, the way I show up and I can speak and be in front of these people who are like, top dogs in that industry, it doesn't matter because I've been with the top dogs in the coaching industry, right? Like linking arms and them being my mentors. So there's that aspect. There's also growing my product company. I was bringing in over 6 figures with my coaching. So
Mm-hmm.
like it was needed because my product company wasn't bringing in enough money for both Andrew and I to leave. So
Mm-hmm.
even my bookkeeper, Lou, she
Mm-hmm.
had said along the way, Crush wouldn't be able to sustain us without my coaching. So
Mm-hmm.
coaching was really supplementing till we got to a certain space.
Yeah.
So no regrets. I actually, great question again, because I thought about that. Is there any regrets? But
Yeah.
not with who I became. And then also the money, like this over 6 figures in a year that really helped grow and have it grow the product business, but have Andrew leave his job as well.
Yes, and it's not just about strategy when you hire someone. So I'm sure you learn so much from those mentors about your identity, your mindset, like maybe some have kids and you learn from them to manage two businesses at the
Yeah,
same time and
yeah,
everything.
for sure.
And I know a lot of people are asking you this question like, how do you do with 3 kids, a husband, two businesses, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to answer for you, but I'm sure it's like you're disciplined, you're organized, you know what you want. But what is discipline for you first? Because when we are saying this word, it's very like the masculine energy and you need to do the thing you want to do and everything. But I know you're very lean back and your feminine energy a lot of the time very spiritual. So what is discipline for you and how do you bring more feminine energy into discipline?
Yeah, I feel like this ties back to something we were talking about earlier, and I'm glad you came back because I did want to touch on this. The part, I forget what we were talking about earlier, but it does tie into it. Anyway, um So how do I fit it all in? Oh yeah, I think you were saying earlier about like working hard. Like you were like you
Yes.
work hard, but then you also don't. So you already had said this, and I was thinking in my head, how is this possible? Because if someone to be like, "Oh, was it easy to grow your business?" No, it was hard work. I worked
Exactly.
hard. I'm a hard worker. But then you also see I barely posted on the weekend, and when I did, it was like at the pool, making s'mores with the kids. So it's priorities. It's everything you had said, the priorities, the discipline, the schedule, the organization. So it is the term work hard, play hard.
Mm.
So this is my working time. I'm going to get it done and get the things I need to get done without procrastinating, without hemming and hawing, without overthinking. So I don't do that. Like you talked about, you're like, you think about something, you go, you do it. You just don't have
Yes.
time. I don't have time to overthink. It's just like, I'm going to sell this thing. I'm going to put this product out. I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm going to say yes to this. And so I have a schedule where it's like, this needs to get done. Here's my non-negotiables. I sell every day. I do content every day, right? I show up every day for my business. Like those things have to be done. But then I also prioritize that I need to get my workout in, or, the kids come home. I always have to like get their snack ready, get dinner ready, night times with the kids. So it's just prioritizing and being disciplined enough to, do that hard work, but then making sure you get your sleep, you eat right, work out, go for walks,
Yes.
all those things.
But sometimes I feel when we are an entrepreneur, it's never enough, or the to-do list is like forever. Like
Yeah.
we can always do more. So how are you able to stop and to be done for the day and have the time with your kids?
Yeah. See, I think like if you don't have kids, you could probably do that more where you like just don't know when to stop. But for when you do have kids, you just like have to. Like I know that at 3, I can't keep working because then it's going to get crazy if my dinner's not prepped and the kids get home and I got to clean their lunches. I have to empty out their bags and clean that out and sign all these papers. And then they want me to play soccer or go jump in the pool with them. And then we got to eat dinner. So it's just like, then they have soccer practice. So for me, it's like, it just has to be cut off or else the night, will be crazy. But I mean, I have a to-do list that will overflow into the next day. But like you said, being an entrepreneur, you always feel like you're behind. You never feel like you're doing enough, like I haven't done my post yet for today, so I better get that out. But guess what? I could probably go put it on, different platforms, but I don't do that. Like, it's just, there's so much that could be done, but yeah, you can't do it all.
And do you ask yourself sometimes, like when your child are gonna be older and they're gonna leave the house, what you're gonna do with that time, with so much time?
Yeah. I honestly kind of picture, because I've thought of this before. I feel like this may be the season where I write a book or something.
Mm.
Because I think one day I will. I have no desire right now to write a book, but I feel like that would be when I would, do those kind of things.
Yes.
Share my story, publishing something else. Like I have stuff on Amazon, but they're journals and, they're not like an actual written book. So that would be probably when, maybe more speaking, travel
Mhm.
more for speaking.
That was I was thinking, more
Yeah.
speaking for you maybe later, even now. And just before we wrap up, I want to talk about identity with you because you're the queen for that. And every time we talk, you're like, it's about identity work.
Mm.
And I want to know, like, you're the person you are now. Of course, it's not the person you were like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And the conversation we had last week, I think you said that it was written in the book, like, I don't remember what was the code, but like something about we can't know what we were gonna be in 10 years, something like that.
Yes.
What
Yeah, I
was
think it's called Your Future Self by
yeah,
Benjamin Hardy. Or yeah, Your Future Self or The Future Self, something like that by Benjamin Hardy, if anyone wants to go look.
yeah,
Yeah, do you want me just to like tap
yes,
on that
yes.
for a little bit? So Elodie and I were having a conversation and we were talking about, in the future kind of thing. And we will never know who we're going to be in the next 10 years. Like you could never predict that. So even though right now you're like, this is my goal. And I'm saying, yeah, writing a book when the kids are in high school or out of our home, it's like, I may be doing something completely different that I never would have guessed in a million years. Same with you, same with your audience, everyone that's
Yes.
listening. And if I think about exactly 10 years ago, I was a teacher, school teacher, I had my master's in education. I thought one day I'd be a principal. I'd work down at the school board. Andrew, was looking into possibly going into parole officer instead of working at the jail all his life. So we were looking at these different avenues. Never in a million years would we ever think that Andrew and I would be together in this office space just beside the jail. It's literally like a one
Nice.
drive up from the jail and making lip balms all day, packaging
Yes.
lip balms, right? And same with me. I never thought that. So if that was who I was 10 years ago, who am I going to be in 10 more years? Like even we're going to launch a sister company to the company that we have now. We didn't know we were going to do that. Like it's just you don't know these things you're going to do. I never knew that. I used to do like psychic intuitive readings. I don't
Yes,
do them
true.
anymore, but I did do them. Never would have guessed that when I was a school teacher that I would be doing intuition readings as well.
I love that. Yes, do you include spiritual, like your spiritual side in your product company?
I would say no.
It's more
Yeah.
like something personal when you want to do some introspection or something like that.
I mean, I do. Sorry, I don't bring it into marketing or anything, but when it comes to decisions for my product company, definitely. Like there are so many times when now Andrew, he brings it in, he's learned from me. So he starts to see, we say universe. So he'll say, oh, wow, look at this sign from the universe. Look, when we make these big choices, whether it's we have to let someone go or we've decided to hire someone, every time we'll get this big order come through. It'll be like crushed aftercare, cha-ching, and we'll get this order. We go look, and it'll be like this $5,000 order. And we always laugh. We're like, oh my gosh, universe is just confirming the decision that we just made. So we bring in the spiritual, mystical laws of the universe when it comes to that and like growing our business, making decisions too. I'll lean into, my spiritual side and my intuition for sure. But when it comes to marketing and that, no, I don't bring it into there though.
Yes, yes. I love that. Perfect. So do you have a last message for the people who are listening to you? Maybe like something about the brave, like
Yeah.
people who don't take the risk, the big move.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a couple of things that came through. So someone else had asked me this question. It was like, if you were, on your deathbed, what would you say? And like the biggest thing would be just like go for it, just do it, just go for it. Like that would be the biggest thing because you never want to have those regrets, right? But with the brave part in the now, something that's really coming through that I'm noticing going into almost 10 years of being an entrepreneur and making this pivot myself. Plus, I'm noticing everyone else having to make massive shifts in their businesses, especially in, the mentorship coaching industry, is being open, being brave enough to be open to change and shifting things and evolving and innovating. Like what you're doing now or what you did 10 years ago, it doesn't need to be your story now. It doesn't need to be where you're going. And so I'm noticing that trends will change no matter what. Like we're seeing it with AI and things rapidly changing. So you've got to be brave enough to evolve and shift with the times and get creative. I've been reading some books recently where it talks about changes with different companies. And if you think about like the newspaper,
Mm.
we got newspapers for life. We're doing amazing. And then it's like, oh, wait, nobody's reading newspapers. So what? They either shut down their business or maybe they went digital or maybe they went to magazines instead, or maybe they made toilet paper instead. Like, I don't know. But my
Yeah.
point is that no matter what, change will happen and evolution is inevitable. It will happen, but you've got to be brave enough and innovative and creative enough to shift and evolve and grow and be okay with that.
I love that. It's like what gets you here won't get you there. And I love this quote. And yes, to be open to change. I so agree with that because I asked myself this question last winter, like, what could I change? And like I did so many things from the last year that I was still doing. I was like, no, I need to make some
Yeah.
change to have new big results.
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you for that. It was a beautiful episode. I'm so happy. And I'm so happy that my audience will now know you better. I have a couple of clients that are following you online, but like to put you on the stage for the French, not the French industry because we did that in English, but like, for my people and also for your audience too. And I love to know the behind the scene that you share because a lot of this, we don't really talk about this, on how social media.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. And thank you for everyone who listened to this episode. Don't be shy to write if you have some breakthrough. Write to Charissa. She will be happy to chat with you. And don't forget to tag us in your stories on Instagram. I will put our Instagram website and everything under the episode. So thank you again. And
Thank you.
we will talk everyone next Sunday. Have a great week. Bye bye.